You can tell it's real because it looks so fake, honestly. It looks so fake. It looks so fake. It looks so fake.
친근하신 그의 좀 가슴이 흘러 차갑게나 그 숨결로 따뜻한 마음 하늘 같은 인도권 믿음에 끌려 우리 모두 따르며 사네 그의 없인 못 살아 김정은 동지 그의 없인 못 살아 우린 못 살아 우리의 운명 김정은 동지 그의 없으면 우린 못 살아 천만의 청대 전사들을 선군혁명의 길에서 생사고락을 함께하는 동지의 전우로 굳게 믿어 내세워주시는 경의하는 최고 사령관 동지
앞에온 길 새겨봐도 앞뒤를 봐도 태양 같은 그 미소로 가득 차있네 그의 말을 받들며 세상 끝까지 순정 다해 모시고 살리 그의 없인 못 살아 김정은 동지 그의 없인 못 살아 우린 못 살아 우리의 운명 김정은 동지 그의 없으면 우린 못 살아
경의하는 최고 사령관 김정은 원수님
It looks so fake. 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 It looks so fake.
3, 2, 1.
I met him at a party and my heart stood still. Somebody told me his name was Bill. Oh, my heart stood still. And his name was Bill. And when he walked me home, he knew what he was doing when he caught my eye. He looked real quiet, but my oh my. Oh, he caught my eye. Oh my, oh my. And when he walked me home,
G'day, this video features a heavy portion of disappointment and a small portion of comedy provided by another one of my commenters. Now let's start with a little bit of comedy where we get this message from Jimmy Johnston, who says, "Space is not fake, shill, and why should we care if it is, you piece of shit?" To which I reply, "Well, if you don't care, then why are you so upset?" "You don't want to see me when I'm upset," he said. "You are a shill, trying to distract people with irrelevant pish. I was being polite when I called you a piece of shit. I'm British. I used to watch your channel, but not after this. Space my ass." Well, you said it, buddy. The first ever photograph of a black hole might be unveiled this week. So it seems that a group of scientists, and let's remember this, that every image of a black hole you have ever seen has been an illustration. They should say that every image you have seen from space is an illustration. But they have said they're going to take a photograph of a black hole, whatever. But they're going to take a photograph of a black hole. You understand? Now, a photograph is a picture made using a camera in which an image is focused onto a light-sensitive material and then made visible and permanent by chemical treatment, or stored digitally. Basically, that means you point your camera at whatever image you wish to capture, you press the button. When you press the button, light is allowed into the camera and is recorded on a light-sensitive material, be that physically or digitally. But it's the light entering the camera that causes the photograph. Yeah? So here's a little bit more information about this amazing photograph we're going to see. What it might show us. It depends on the people putting the pictures together. And you'll see in a moment that, we're not taking a photograph at all. Hence the disappointment. So a WikiLeaks search tells us that the Event Horizon Telescope is a project to create a large telescopic array. Here it is comprised of many radio observatories or radio telescope facilities around the world to produce a high sensitivity, high angular resolution telescope through the technique of very long baseline interferometry. Many independent radio antennas separated by hundreds of thousands of miles and blah, 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 blah. But this is no ordinary telescope that you can just look through and see stuff. This is in fact a radio telescope. It's recording astronomical radio signals from an astronomical radio source from the radio station up in space called a quasar. I wonder what a quasar is. More gobbledygook to me. But this quasar is apparently an extremely luminous active galactic nucleus. And it has been theorized, in other words speculated or guessed at or made up, that most large galaxies contain a supermassive central black hole with mass ranging from millions to billions of times the mass of our sun. We don't even know the mass of our sun, so how can we speculate on the... It doesn't matter. And there's some idiot's going to tell me, we know exactly how big the sun is and how much it weighs. We know how much the Earth weighs. No, we don't. It's just been speculated and guessed at, or as they put it here, theorized. It's basically, the data is collected. So it's basically, we're collecting radio signals, and then they'll all be flown back to a central location where they'll all be put together to create this high angular photograph. So it's not in fact a photograph at all. The best way I see it and can understand it is that it's just going to be another composite image put together from a collection of data points, not a photograph. Anyway, Jimmy Johnson, space is fake, but you don't care, right? But you just had to make an abusive comment in all caps because you don't care. You're funny. Space is fake, Mr. British, whether you like it or not. And I remembered one little call that he put up there where he said it himself. Actually, Mr. Jimmy Johnson, Mr. British, you said it for me. Come on, type quicker. Space, my ass. You said it, mate. So here we all are. The whole space-loving world's going to be holding their breath, bated breath, waiting in anticipation for this photograph that is not going to be a photograph. Space is fake. Oh, come on. Come on. The suspense is killing me. Come on. It's the black hole photograph. How the first photo of a black hole was captured. Feast your eyes on that beauty, boys. That's a photo of a black hole. Let's see how they made this photo of a black hole. I told you it was garbage. That was extremely underwhelming, wasn't it? Told you it was going to be a load of garbage. Oh, unbelievable. This will have people frothing at the mouth. Oh, we can see the black hole. Hang on, let's run that garbage through again. Thanks, CNN. Oh, shit. How the first photo of a black hole was captured. This is the first ever photo of a black hole. Okay, if you say so. It brought tears to this woman's eyes. It brought tears to my eyes, tears of laughter. I'm sure the tears it brought to her eyes were tears of disappointment. The Event Horizon Telescope Collaboration, or EHT, presented what they call a groundbreaking result. Or let me rephrase that. Presented what they call a groundbreaking result. This guy said he was able to see what they didn't think they would ever be able to see. Amazing. And then it goes on to show us a whole bunch more CGI pictures and things showing how scientists combined the power of 8 radio telescopes around the Earth. And this effectively creates a virtual telescope about the same size of the... there's Tidor's picture. That picture there proves that space is real, according to Tidor. Oh, and photosynthesis also proves it's real. And then they show us a picture like the one I showed you of the Star Wars galaxy to make it look all ridgy-dig. We get a little bit more CGI now. If this little bit here, see, they know exactly how a black hole works and all of that stuff. They know all the ins and outs of the black hole. I'll bet you that they've even got equations for it, you know, so we can see how these beautiful CGI pictures actually work in the real deluded mind, in the real life, which raises the question, if they're unable to have ever seen one before, how on earth can they know exactly how one works with all the ins and outs and have all the equations and tell us what exactly happens inside one if they've never been able to actually see one before? Doesn't really make too much sense, does it? Space is fake. Think of it like this. You got people, millions of people out there that love Star Wars, the movie series, and they know everything about Star Wars, all the different characters and their lineages and which planets and systems they come from, and all that kind of ins and outs, how all the things in this imaginary world of Star Wars happen and take place. The people that know the insides and out of it, not just the people that created it, but fans of the show. I put space like that. It's just a big made-up fantasy land that we can see. We can see lights in the sky from here. And what people have done is speculated and theorised, made shit up, and then gone out of their way to create this little magical land around it. And they've done a very good job. They've done a very good job of it. They've got lots of tricky equations that the average Joe doesn't understand, so we just handball all that thinking off to people that we consider to be greater minds than ours. So what is science, actually? Science is the intellectual and practical activity encompassing the systematic study of the structure and behaviour of the physical and natural world through observation and experiment. So astrophysics, does that apply to this? An experiment is a procedure carried out to support or refute or validate a hypothesis. Experiments provide insight into cause and effect. What's a hypothesis? A hypothesis is a proposed explanation for a phenomenon. For a hypothesis to be a scientific hypothesis, the scientific method requires that one can test it. Now, while testing using the scientific method, it is very important that in our experiments they have where is it coming up? A dependent variable. Now that is the thing that will be changed, or the thing that will exhibit the phenomena. Yeah? And the independent variable is the thing in the experiment that you will manipulate or change in order to produce the effect we see at the dependent variable. And scientific theory is based on a conclusion of experimentation. A scientific theory is reached when many experiments come to the same conclusion. A hypothesis is an educated guess about what an experiment will prove. After the experiment, a hypothesis could be proven wrong. A scientific theory stands based on a long history of experiments in which the hypothesis was correct. So in order to do so, we need to have a dependent and an independent variable in which astrophysics cannot provide. Take gravity, for example. The glue of the whole heliocentric model is gravity. Gravity makes everything work. Gravity is what makes things fall towards the ground, they say down here. But none of this gravitational theories, or what they call theories, are not theories because they cannot be put through the scientific method. They cannot have an independent variable. That's the problem with explaining gravity. Gravity holds the whole space myth together. There are other things as well, such as the way gas pressures work. You know, people say, oh, but we have air pressure. Air is atmos, is air is gas, it's a pressure out there. We can't have a pressure out there if we're right next to a huge vacuum of space without a barrier in between that keeps our pressure. It just cannot happen. Astrophysics, the thing that explains all this garbage that we've been told since before we even went to school. Sesame Street episodes with the stupid big mouth aliens. Look, Earth, moon, coming from space. So we think that we live on this ball floating in this big, ridiculous area since before we even went to school. Then we go to school and they reaffirm that to us over and over and over and over again, to the point that people can get to the other end of school and then go into further studies, studying, what is effectively a huge big assumption, a big guess, and then the story's been written after that. It is basically a Star Wars movie, really. It's just made up, but it's got a lot of detail. A lot of detail that can't be proven. So, does that mean that Anaconda malt liquor is one of those flat earthers? Flat Earth is a psyop. Well, you could be right. Flat Earth could be a psyop. You have people doing a very similar thing to what these astrophysicists are doing. They are making observations and then making speculative conclusions and announcing them to be truthful and fact. Now, the declaration that the Earth is flat could possibly be a psyop, because it's my little opinion that nobody knows what the Earth looks like. Nobody has been able to see it in its entirety. So therefore, nobody can make a claim, I believe, as to whether it be a floating, spinning monkey ball, or whether it be a flat, never-ending plane, or what have you. None of us know. Nobody knows that. You don't know it. I don't know it. And anybody that's telling you that they do know it, I don't think they do. They might believe it, but belief is a different thing. The point basically is nobody has been able to scientifically prove, one way or another, that we live on a spinning ball, and nobody has been able to prove, one way or another, that it is a big, flat, level plane. Although it certainly looks more flattish than it does round, spinny ball in a vacuum of spacey. Anyway, look, I'll just finish this video off with this point, right? Consider this. In this phony, fake show circle of YouTube, this corner of YouTube, where we are onto the fact that the TV lies, right? The news tell us lies, your government tells us lies, the TV tells us lies. And we can't understand why some people just aren't open to hearing this idea, aren't open to even thinking about it, considering it, or looking into it. And we question that, and we go, a lot of people speculate to say that it's because these people don't want to look into things like this, just in case they have their pre-existing worldview shattered, and the truth of the reality that we see, they just don't want to know about it. They're happily, sheepily living in their blissful ignorance. Well, making these videos where I just simply state my opinion that space is fake, I see a lot of very similar reactions. What are you talking about? Space is fake. What about this? What about that experiment? Well, it's not an experiment. Most of them aren't experiments. They're just observations, just tests, observations at the best. But, you know, people are heavily defending this space thing, a place that none of us can go to, and none of us will ever go to. That's because it's fake and nobody has ever been there. But the defense of space is ridiculous. Everybody knows NASA lies, and we're quite happy with that and how they fake space and all of that. But the fact that space is fake, I mean, come on, Anaconda. I mean, seriously, what's wrong with you? Oh, well, I asked the same thing. What's wrong with you that you're just going to dismiss this straight off the cuff like that? When we all acknowledge that we live in a system that's built on lies and deceit, twisting of truths, everything from our schooling systems to our medical systems to political systems to financial systems, everything is built on lies and deceit and twisting of truths. Religious systems, churches, it's all twisting and deceptive stuff. So why would space be any different? I mean, we all acknowledge NASA fakes space. They fake their ISS videos. They fake their images from space. So why is it so hard to believe that the whole astrophysics system is also a lie, built on lies, on deceptions, on mistruths and assumptions and guesses? Why can't you wrap your heads around that as well? I know many of you can, and many of you should at least be able to understand why I think the way I do, even if you disagree. But this is the one thing I don't get from when I make videos like this: the dead set resistance to the idea that they could be lying to us about the world we live in. Anyway, see you later.
I would normally say, please try to spread the word around, but they're doing it for you. They're showing you that it's fake. It's fake. It's fake. It's fake. It's fake. It's a fake show. It's a phony fake show. It's fake. It's fake. It's fake. It's fake. Fake.
And I'm sure there's a bunch of dumb fucking twats out there and fucking Mr. Assholes gonna come forward. But how can you say that?